Welcome to the Decide to Move podcast, helping entrepreneurs like you make smart, pivotal shifts in your life and business. Tune in each episode for inspiring stories from brilliant business minds and trailblazers to find out how they made their big moves and how you can too. Now here's your host, author, speaker, business strategist, CEO, and founder of Decide to Move, Monica M. Bijou.
I am so glad that you're joining me for another episode of Decide to Move podcast because I have an amazing speaker with me. And guess what? She is an Amazon #1 bestseller as of this in the month of May. So woo woo, I'm super excited. This woman is phenomenal. She comes with so many gifts and talents. And today she's going to talk to us about how to overcome obstacles to start your business. And also just even obstacles in your life and how you can move forward and use your story, your life, your journey, things that you've done to help you get to the next level. As all of my audience know, as you're going through pivotal shifts, you're going to go through ebbs and flows and ups and downs. Working with me, I allow you to overcome and stop having to do the trials and errors, but we definitely get you moving to the right direction. So today I have Lashonda Wofford is going to be teaching you how to use your obstacles, how to take your story and actually be able to create a business out of it, and as well as be able to take you to the next level in your life. So without further ado and a round of applause, I'll help me welcome Lashonda. How are you doing, Lashonda?
Hi, Monica. I am doing just fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad to have you with me, coming off of being a bestseller.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
How are you? How have you been celebrating?
So for the first week, I cried all week. Honestly, that's the truth. I was just full of emotion. I was just overwhelmed. Not that I didn't think it could happen. I guess it's just like when you think about how good God is, and He's just so strategic and so intentional with everything that He does for us and through us, that's what made it overwhelming. So it's like I was unknown as an author just the latter part of last year. And this year to go from unknown to #1 best-selling author, it was mind-blowing. It was.
And another thing is like when you write your goals, right? I'm all about creating a vision. People talk about vision board, but when you feel it and you think it, it's in an ideal process, and then it goes from idea to being reality. It's kind of almost like you're not saying I doubted you, but it's like I can't believe that it actually happened, and it becomes that surreal moment where you just are overtaken with joy.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it. It's such a blessing and such an honor. I'm still in awe.
Well, I'm sure people are in awe with you because of the fact that, I mean, your life itself has been a lot of, obstacles through them and having to set goals and overcoming and accomplishing them, which is what you're going to be talking to us about today. So I'm super excited to learn about that. But before we even begin, tell the audience who you are and where you actually, residing right now.
Okay, so I am Lashonda Wofford. I am first a wife, a mother, a grandmother. I am the CEO and founder of Akins Helping Hands. And I am now a #1 best-selling author as well. I am originally from Goldsboro, North Carolina, but right now I reside in Hope Mills, North Carolina, with my husband and my family.
Okay. And how long have you been living? So you're born and raised in North Carolina, so all your life?
All my life, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, and I actually lived in North Carolina as well. I don't know if you knew that. My ex-husband was stationed at Fort Bragg, and so I was there for a total of 12 years. Got my undergrad, both of my masters after I finished the second one. I was like, pew, see ya. But yeah, I love North Carolina. I worked at the hospital there, Cape Fear Valley, the only hospital that's like in the city beside Highsmith Rainey. So when they merged. I worked both places, so it was really nice.
Wow, that's awesome.
So what has been your journey? What has gotten you to be in the entrepreneur? Because what you do as an entrepreneur is a lot different than your typical coach or healer or anything else like that. You actually have a brick and mortar business. Before, how did you get into that?
So, my journey to entrepreneurship is very unique. For me, it started in my early 20s, 2021. Just to give you a little, backstory on that, I was married at the age of 21. Um, and I had a daughter that was 5 years old at the time. Um, and so I found myself in a situation where my husband at that time was a victim of a violent shooting. Um, Ended up being someone trying to rob him, and just shot him multiple times, left him there to die, but he didn't die. Um, so when they found him, he had to be resuscitated, taken to the emergency room. So all of this had taken place, and I didn't know, because I was at home. Make a long story short, when I arrived at the ER, doctors, came and talked to me to tell me what they said would be a very bad outcome. Um, they were telling me, um, the severity of the shootings, and that they didn't expect him to live another 24 hours. So everything was touch and go for quite a while. I had several meetings with the doctors because every time they would give him a 24-hour time frame, he would live past the 24 hours. So after about the third time, I'm like, okay, can we talk about what we're going to do now that we're past 24 hours, right? And they were shocked. They didn't understand how he was still living. So I found myself in a situation where I had to make a decision. I had to make a choice, because what they told me at that time was, this is forever. What you see now is what he's going to be. So he's not going to have, his quality of life is going to be poor. He'll never walk. He'll never talk. He'll never be able to understand or comprehend, anything that's being said to him, or be able to communicate. So I chose to bring him home, and take care of him, because that was my daughter's father, and that was my husband. Um, a lot of people thought I was crazy, and they thought that I was taking on too much at such a young age. But in my eyes, if I was old enough to be married, then I was old enough to hold myself to those vows, for better or worse, the promise that we made to each other. So I was willing to do whatever I needed to do to keep my family together, and give him the best quality of life despite the diagnosis and the prognosis. So that's how Akins Helping Hands came about. My journey through that was not peaches and cream. Um, it was very hard in the beginning. It was unfamiliar, to me, but I committed myself to learning all that I could about vent-dependent quadriplegics, because that's what ultimately that's what it was. Um, and so I knew I can't help him if I didn't educate myself, if I didn't learn about it. So I deep dived. Like, when I say I deep dived, we spent about 7 months in the ICU. He never went to step down. We never went to another floor. So from ICU, we went straight to home. So though at that time I was learning how to take care of him, I was reading up on, the different conditions. And that's where it started. Um, and for me, I wanted to be that advocate for other people because at that moment I realized this happens more often than anybody else realized, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. One, it's sad to know that it happens more often than not, but as we see how the world is today and things that's happening, there's so many things that are happening that people are like usually turn a blind eye to, or not, they don't take notice unless it actually happens close to home. It's not something that people really pay attention to. But before even talking about all that, the fact that you said something so powerful about if you were young enough to get married, you were younger, old enough to get married, you were old enough to live by the vows. So many people do not understand what that looks like, feels like, think about when it comes to taking on a responsibility. Oftentimes we'll raise our hand and say, yes, I do. I like this person, or I think I'm in love with this person. But when it comes to truly understanding what better or for worse is, it's a whole nother story. It means that things are going to be good. It's going to be bad. You just have to stay true to the form. And I appreciate how you actually put that. I always say that right now, I'm not married and my daughter's grown. I'm married to my business. And so it's the same thing. There's going to be times that my business is, struggling, and there's times that it's doing really good, times that I'm working long hours and I'm exhausted. However, if I said this is what I'm going to do, I have to put the same motivation that I did before. So, I mean, we've talked before, and that the fact of you actually taking that level of maturity and turn it into something that showing the fruit of your labor is phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you. At that time when I made that decision, I couldn't even see this far down the road. I was just in that moment. Like I said before, the only thing I wanted to do was allow my daughter to have as much time with her dad as she could and just keep my family together. So, that's really why I made that decision at that moment. I've been asked if I could go back and do it over, would I? The answer would be yes, I absolutely would. Because through that, I've been able to birth Akins Helping Hands, so I'm able to, everything that I learned while I was the one on the other side, I'm now able to share out, and I can actually relate to my client. I know exactly what they need and what they deserve.
Yes, can you tell the audience exactly, and listeners, I should say, what exactly is Akins Helping Hands? What exactly do you do in your business?
So Akins Helping Hands is a two-part. Right now we have phase one, which is our home care agency. We go into the private homes of our clients to assist them with activities of daily living, whether it's from illness or injury. So that's what we do.
Okay, and then you said there's going to be another part. What's the other part?
Yes, ma'am. So phase two will actually be event management home. So we will house, and I don't want to say clients because I want it to be more of a family. So I'll say our family. We will house family members there, who's on a trach in event and needs 24-hour coverage, needs 24-hour care, just like David had to have. But we'll be there, and their families can come in. It'll be, one-on-one care. We have one nurse per patient. That's my biggest goal. My biggest, that's my must. That's a must for me, because we want to be able to provide the type of quality care that they deserve. And you can't do that if you're having your nurses overstaffed, overworked. if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Oh, it does. I worked, so I've done a lot of things, and I know people like, what is she? Every time I turn around, she works somewhere. But when I was in North Carolina, one of the things, besides working in the ER and the ICU as a critical care specialist, I also did, because I was a single mom, so, working 2 full-time jobs, I also did hospice for, as a social worker, and had to go into homes and, just provide that support, and just seeing that was the place where I learned what true love is all about, where really like that, you talk about the vows. And I remember I used to joke, I was like, when I was married, when they said, sickness or health, I'm like, I'll get you some soup if you feeling a little snuffly, and get you some cough drops. What you need? I'll even make you some chicken noodle soup. But when I got to see family members that, like, like yourself, that actually, had someone who went through dementia, and you're talking about young. I had a client where he was young, and he got diagnosed with early stage dementia. Used to be, a military pilot, and just watching how his wife had to go from allowing him to, do all his hobbies, to having to put deadbolts on the door, and watching him go from, still being able to be a little vibrant to being bedridden and having to have a feeding tube. Like, being a part of that, to me, I felt like it was an honor for me to be able to be a part of their lives. And also the biggest part is watching how she treated him, and made sure that anyone that walked through that door, if they didn't give her husband respect, they were not welcome back. And that's so huge and important, because I don't care if a person is talking, up and alert, people feel and sense energy around them. And that energy can hinder their healing, or it can help them. And so it's kind of like the same thing, and no matter what you do, if you are not around like-minded, like-hearted people, it can actually cause more damage to you than it can help you.
Right, right. I totally agree with that. When David was still alive and receiving nursing services, there were plenty of times where, I would have a nurse show up, and she had no clue what to do with a ventilator, and didn't have a desire to even try to learn. Like, the respect just wasn't there. So I would kindly send her on her way, and I would just take care of him for the rest of that day. Um, it is so important, that's why I have a soft spot in my heart for that population, because they're so underserved, and they're so misunderstood. People just look at them and see the trach and the vent, and just automatically assume that, they don't understand anything that's going on. 2, they think that their life is not just as important as ours. And so that was a big deal for me as well, making sure that whoever came into our home would care about taking care of him and respecting him while doing it.
Yeah, and that's super huge and important. And I always tell people, like, if your energy is not right, I literally do not have the capacity to be around you, to hang with you, to, even do business or collaborate. I recently had to do that, where I had a gentleman who wanted to collaborate with me, and his energy was so off, and he was just so demeaning. I was like, this conversation has ended. No, wait, no. Because at the end of the day, I always, I tell my clients, my coaching clients as well as my therapy clients, your number one job is to teach people how to treat you, because we don't come with a manual. And so people attempt to treat you based on their experience with other people.
Right.
And it's like, no. This is how I need to be treated. And if you can't abide by that, that's fine. I'm not mad at you. You just won't be in my circle. It's okay.
Right.
So, huge.
I've been told, people ask me, you're the owner. Why are you so involved? Like, do I want to give up some of my responsibility to somebody else? And I'm just like, no. Like, it's from hiring to trainings to whatever it is. I am very hands-on, because when we hire somebody, we have to trust that they're going to go into those homes with the hearts and the minds that we have. And so it's important for me to be hands-on. I want to sit in front of whoever's in there applying for the job or interviewing, because like you just mentioned, the energy. I want to feel and get a feel for who is asking to be a part of our care team. That's important to me. So that'll be probably something I'll never give up. I just can't, it's too important. It matters too much,
Yeah, it's your baby. I mean, and you don't just let anybody hold your baby. So why would you let somebody come in just kind of destroy what you worked so hard to build, and how you built it was based on a lot of hurt, pain, obstacles, seeing what was not done, things that was needed. And so, no, you don't want just any and everybody to come in, because it takes just one person to uproot everything that you worked so hard for, so hard. And going in someone's home and doing the wrong thing, that's the last thing that you need. So yeah, I would be all involved as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you tell those, like you share some of your obstacles, and you said that using obstacles to start a business. What would you tell some of those entrepreneurs out there that are, I work with entrepreneurs that are making pivotal shifts. They've been successful. They know what success look like. And I know that you're making some shifts in your own life, now that you're an author and adding more, I would say, accolades to your belt. What would you say to them? How could they use their experience to push them to actually do their purpose and get to the next level in their life?
So what I would tell them is to just remember this. The things that we go through in life, they're not always for us, if that makes sense. We have to overcome certain obstacles in order for us to grow to the level to where we can be pushed into our purpose. So if you sit back and just analyze the situation, you're going to feel the hurt. Yes, you are. It's going to be tough. Yes, it is. But through all of that, you will find your purpose. You will find your why, the reason why you had to be the one to go through. And then with that, remember that somebody else's breakthrough is dependent on our obedience to get to the other side, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does, because those who follow me and have heard me talk about it, I'm not going to ever deny my spirituality. And my favorite, like the whole part in the Bible, there's so many nuggets, but the one thing that I use to help me through my journey is when Jesus said to his disciples, "Let us go to the other side." And he's in the boat sleeping, because once he gave a direction and said where we're headed, yes, there are going to be storms, there are going to be trials and tribulations, but if I stay focused on the storm, and if I stay focused on all the obstacles, I'm not focused on my destiny. I'm not focused on my destination and the things that I'm supposed to go through. And I think about the military. When someone's getting ready to get deployed and go on an assignment, they have to go through training. And that training is not easy. Well, if they had not gone through that training, they would not be even a little slightest prepared. A lot of times when they go, they're not fully prepared anyway. No one's fully prepared for everything that they're going to experience, but at least they start having some knowledge and some experience to get them ready for where they have to go. And so when we're going through trials, going through tribulations, going through different things, for me, it's kind of like having getting that skills and getting the training necessary to get to where we're supposed to be going.
I totally agree. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I do.
Yeah. So what other things would you recommend or say to that person that, especially right now as the world is changing, we have the pandemic happening, COVID-19, just, Corona, as I call her, Rona, has made her world tour, and still on the loose, where people are still getting sick, and jobs have been lost, and people are attempting to get back in the swing of things. And then now, with everything happening, discrimination has been a part of our world. I know all of my life, I've actually personally got to see it. I've experienced it throughout my life. And people are tired. People are tired of things being that the way that they are. What would you say to entrepreneurs as they're attempting to start a business or lead their business, or just kind of just redefine themselves as all these obstacles and different things are happening right now in the world?
What I would tell them is never to give up on their dream, because the dream was given to them. God gave them the dream. So that's something that when he gives you something, you don't have a choice. You have to push through. So just just stay focused on your why. Um, Allow God to guide you, and show you the way. And you just can't lose sight of what it is that he's already given you to do. And then I would just tell them, chaos is all around us. And sometimes the enemy uses that to throw us off course. Stay focused. I've had to definitely, I've always been one to pray and, seek God for guidance, but more so now than ever. And not just for me, but for everybody. That would be my biggest thing that I would encourage them to do right now in the time that we're in. But the key is to just never give up, keep pushing. If you have to reach out to other people, to pull from their positive energy, surround yourself with people that can pour into you and not take out, and not make withdrawals all the time, but can put deposits into you as well. That's what I would say for the time that we're in right now. Because whether it's now or next year, to make your dream reality, you just can't give up.
Did you have a strategic plan that you used when you were in the process of taking your dream and making it become a reality based on all your obstacles and your experience? Was there like a step-by-step or something that you particularly did to start getting the ball rolling?
Yes, I did have a strategic plan. Once the decision was made to move forward with the agency, I made a list. First, I called up to the state of North Carolina, and I told them what I was trying to do, and I asked for information on, what I needed. They gave me a website, and I sat down and I made a list. I made a list of everything that I needed to do, and I didn't just make a list. Beside each item, I put a date, and that date was my deadline for myself, so I can stay on task and stay on course. And every day I would work at it. Every day, when I was working a third shift job at the time, and so that means I was up all night. But in between what I had to do for the residents, I was working on my checklist for my business. And so I just kept at it. I just and I kept the notebook with me at all times so that I could look at it and just keep reminding myself that I needed to get it done. And that's my process. That's how I did it.
Yeah, and that's great information for those that are like wondering, how do I get started? I'm a big proponent of taking what's in your head and writing it on a piece of paper. And not, typing is one thing, but there's that kinesthetic, energetic feel from taking something from what you're thinking to actually writing it out and putting it on paper. Then it becomes like real and tangible, and doing it step by step. chunking it out, if putting dates next to it and holding true to yourself and saying, okay, even if it's just, I'm going to make these 5 phone calls by the end of this week, it's 5 phone calls that you wouldn't have done had you not actually thought about it or wrote it down. And so it's really just taking those one little steps from the very beginning and actually start making it become tangible to make that shift. For those that are, sitting by waiting for things to change, that's the time to get out your pen and paper and start making, just start writing out your goals, your dreams. What would you say for those people who don't even know, they're like, I know there's something inside of me, but I don't know what it is? What would you recommend for them to do?
I would, for those people, I would just recommend just really just doing some soul searching, and just take a step back and look at the things that they've had to overcome. Again, for me, all of those things revealed to me what my purpose was, what I should be doing. So that's where I would start. And I know for a lot of people, going back to look at or revisiting traumatic things is painful, and you tend not to want to do that. But that's where it is. That's where it starts.
And this also allows the healing. And writing, being a part of a collaboration, I've been a part of several myself, and each one of them allowed me to share my story in chunks, and that way I didn't feel overwhelmed, but I was able to get part of it out of me, so that way it wasn't something that hindered me. Because if you don't heal and you don't deal with it, it comes back. It shows up in your business, it shows up in your life, it just shows up. It comes, right? Some people, it's in their dreams, they can't sleep well. So it's definitely something that they want to address instead of just sleeping on it.
Right. You definitely have to allow yourself to go through the process, the healing process. And once you've done that, you definitely have to have made peace with whatever those things are, that held you captive.
Yeah, most definitely. So how can people, well, first of all, for Akins, it's Helping Hands.
It's Akins Helping Hands.
Akins.
Mm-hmm.
How do they, if someone that lives in North Carolina or interested in your services, how can they actually connect with you for that?
So we have, they can visit our website, and that is akinshelpinghands.com. On there is a form that they can submit, to get more information. There's also a calendar connected there where they can schedule a consultation. Or they can just call into the office at 910-568-5319.
And we'll also write those in the show notes for people who are like, wait, repeat it. You can always go to the show notes and on your favorite listening platform, or if you're viewing it on YouTube, or go to YouTube, it'll all be right there. And then what's next for you? I know you're working on phase 2 for your agency. What else are you going to be working on next?
So I actually have, I have a solo book project scheduled to be released later this year. And that book is called Pain Equals Purpose. And that is where I share out my life, basically. I share out my life. And it is to just help motivate and encourage other people to move past the things that's happened to them, and how they can take that pain and turn it into purpose.
Nice. And so is there a way that people can follow you and connect with you, just even to learn about writing, to learn about what you do, and just to connect with you? Because now as an author, you're going to have people who may want to have you speaking. How can they connect with you?
So I have a Facebook page, and it's just my name, Lashonda Wofford. I have Instagram, Lashonda Wofford, Twitter, and LinkedIn, Lashonda Wofford. So it's real simple. It's Lashonda, and then Wofford is spelled Wofford. I also have a website, and it's just deals with everything writing. It's actually called the Writer's Corner, and that website is IamMrsLashondaWofford.com.
Okay, nice. Nice. So we'll make sure that it's in the show notes so that way people will have it. And before we go, is there any last words that you want to share?
I want to just encourage everybody, and I just want to kind of reiterate when I say whatever your dream is, and it could be more than one dream, never give up. And I want people to understand and know that people around them, they're not going to be able to see your vision. They can't see your dream. One, because it was given to you, not to them. Two, because sometimes, and it's nothing bad about other people, they just don't get it. They can't see it. A lot of people can't see something that they can't actually physically touch. So it makes it hard for them to believe in it. And the other thing is, if someone cannot believe in something so big for themselves, they can't possibly believe in it for you. So you have to know that and be okay with that. And then just be open to, different forms of support. Just know that it shows up different for everybody. So be willing and be open to allow those around you to support you in the capacity that they can.
Those are great words. I mean, because those are definitely nuggets that people can live by in their business as well as in their personal life. Honestly, I don't think there's anything I need to say to add on to that at all. So, Lashonda, thank you so much for being with me today. Honestly, you've given so many different nuggets, giving people ways that they can overcome their obstacles to start their business and how to ensure that they're surrounded around the right people so that they can actually take, and I'm going to use your upcoming book, take their pain and have to define their purpose. And then actually, before we go, do you mind sharing with people what your best-selling book is that you collaborated with?
I do not. I was actually, as you were talking, I was like, I want to say one more thing. So the anthology project, the book is called Blessed Not Broken. And it is myself and 9 other women. We came together to just inspire and encourage and motivate others. We took the things in our lives, obstacles and trials, and we shared them out to the world so that we could show other people, you go through these things, you hurt, but then you also become an overcomer. So we're not, you don't look at yourself as a victim. We showed you what we went through, the bad, the ugly, the good, and then we showed you now we're victorious because of those things. And so I definitely encourage everybody to, if you haven't already, to go grab a copy. You will definitely be inspired, motivated. And I think a lot of people I know a lot of people will get that emotional release that they need to be able to move forward. Now, I thank you too, Monica, again. I certainly do thank you for taking the time out to just talk to little old me. I appreciate it.
There's no such thing as little old you. It's other people that are here. You have a lot going on, girl. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you all for listening to another episode of Decide to Move. I'm super excited to continue to bring you great content and ways that you can actually go to the next level in your life, whether it's a personal or professional level, and having speakers that you can resonate with that'll help you get there. So again, I'm Monica, and thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Decide to Move podcast with Monica M. Bijou. If you are ready to make a pivotal shift and take your destined position in the world, Then schedule a free discovery call by going to www.decidetomove.com. For all links mentioned in today's show and to listen to previous episodes, go to www.decidetomuvepodcast.com. And remember, we've all been delivered rotten fruit in our past. We can choose to chew on the rotten fruit trying to convince ourselves it's what we want, or we can become the fruits of our labor and create an incredible, fulfilling, and inspiring life and business out of it. You have what it takes to create the life you want.